right, welcome back everybody to another deep dive.
Glad to be back.
And today we are diving into something that I think is really going to be fascinating for folks who, follow the world of AI
Yeah.
and particularly large language models. So we've got a bunch of papers and stuff that we're looking at today, all really focused on kind of unique ways to evaluate
Yeah.
LLMs.
Right.
It's one thing to just say like, hey, can it answer this question? But
Right.
there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot more. These models are very sophisticated now, and as they get more sophisticated, the methods of evaluating them also have to become more sophisticated.
Right. And so we've got, just to give folks kind of like a high-level overview of what we're looking at. We're talking about basically judging AI's ability to do scientific research.
Right, yeah.
We're talking about, their skills when it comes to mathematical reasoning. We're talking about rare disease knowledge, how they can tackle that. And then even ways to like improve the speed and the accessibility of LLMs, like make them faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of the high-level overview. I'm excited to jump in.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one.
So the first one that caught my eye was this thing called the super benchmark.
Right.
And this is basically, like, the way I understand it is, it's basically like judging an AI's potential to be a scientist.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good way to put it.
Instead of just being able to, like, spit out an answer, can they actually, formulate hypotheses, design experiments, analyze data,
Right. Exactly. And that's sort of a holy grail of AI research, right?
Yeah.
Is to be able to have an AI that can conduct science autonomously.
Right.
The implications of that are
huge.
Yeah.
That would be pretty incredible.
It would. So this super benchmark, it takes us beyond the simple question answering, which is how we traditionally evaluate a lot of these LLMs. And it really looks at those higher level cognitive skills that are required for scientific discovery.
And what's fascinating to me about this is that it's not just theoretical.
Right.
They're using this benchmark.
Yeah.
I was reading about how they actually, I think one of the examples was discovering new materials.
Yes.
With specific properties, right?
Exactly. That's one of the areas where they've applied this benchmark. And you can imagine that having huge implications for fields like material science, for example.
Yeah.
Drug discovery. All of these areas where we're constantly trying to find new materials with better properties.
So it's almost like instead of AI being a tool, it's almost like AI could actually be leading the way in scientific discoveries in the future.
It's a very profound thought, right? And this benchmark is giving us a way to start exploring that possibility. And what's also interesting is that it's also highlighting the limitations of current AI, because while these models are showing remarkable abilities in analyzing data and designing experiments, they still struggle with things that require more intuitive leaps of understanding, real-world interaction, those sorts of things.
So they can kind of analyze existing data and stuff.
They're really good at that, yeah.
But if you're talking about like a really out there breakthrough, are we getting to that point yet, or is it kind of like
not quite yet? I think that's a fair assessment, but the progress is very rapid, right?
No, it's super fascinating.
Okay.
So super benchmark, that's one to keep an eye on. But another one that really caught my attention was this idea of MathGAP, right? And this one's all about mathematical reasoning. And I think that's something that people might not immediately think of as being super important for AI, but it kind of makes sense, right? If you think about it,
absolutely. Mathematical reasoning is a fundamental aspect of intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's human intelligence or artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And it's not just about, being able to calculate things or memorize formulas.
Right.
It's about understanding the underlying logic.
Yeah.
The step-by-step problem-solving process.
Right.
And that's what MathGAP really focuses on.
So it's not just like, can the AI spit out the right answer to a math problem?
Right.
It's can they understand?
Yeah. Can they explain how they got there?
Why it works?
Yeah.
Like a proof or something like that.
Exactly. Imagine you're trying to design a bridge, right? And you need to understand the mathematical principles behind load distribution, stress analysis, all of these things that go into making sure the bridge is stable.
Yeah.
That requires mathematical reasoning. And if we want AI to be able to do those sorts of tasks, we need to be able to evaluate.
And trust it, too.
Exactly, and trust it.
Yeah.
So MathGP provides a framework for assessing that capacity in these models.
Okay, so the stakes are pretty high.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to MathGP, for sure. Now this next one, this one's interesting to me because it's so specific. We're talking about Rarebench. And this is all about AI, tackling the problem of rare diseases.
Yeah. This is one of those areas where AI has the potential to really make a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially for those conditions that are, often kind of overlooked or misdiagnosed.
Right, exactly.
So what exactly is Rarebench doing here? I mean, how is it?
So it's evaluating an LLM's understanding of rare diseases across 4 key dimensions.
Okay.
The first one is, can it grasp the specific definition of a rare disease?
Right.
Because that itself can be quite nuanced, right?
Right.
The second is, can it recognize the clinical manifestations?
Okay.
Which can be very complex and often overlap with other conditions. The third is, can it identify appropriate diagnostic tests?
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't want to be running the wrong tests.
Right, yeah.
And wasting time and resources. And then finally, does it understand the treatment options that are available?
Oh, they're available, yeah.
For a particular rare disease.
So it's really kind of like testing that whole spectrum.
The whole spectrum, yeah.
Of knowledge about these rare diseases.
Right.
And that's pretty, I mean, that sounds really promising. Like is this something that is already kind of being used in?
It is, yeah.
Like healthcare settings, or is it?
It's very early stage, of course, but there are some very exciting applications that are being explored. One of the really interesting ones is using Rarebench to train AI models on large data sets of patient symptoms, medical histories, genetic information.
Right.
And the idea is that the AI, by being trained on all of this data, might be able to pick up on subtle patterns, connections.
Maybe a human doctor wouldn't.
That a human doctor might miss.
Okay.
And that could lead to earlier and more accurate diagnoses.
Right, because, I mean, that's kind of...
Especially for rare diseases where sometimes it can take years to get a diagnosis.
Yeah, like finding a needle in a haystack.
Exactly, and AI could potentially help us with that.
Okay, now that is really impressive. So we've talked about these 3 approaches, right?
Right.
But this last one, FP6 LLM, this one's a little bit different because it's not about what the AI can do. Right. It's more about like how fast it can do it.
Yeah, how we can make it do it faster.
Yeah.
More efficiently.
Yeah. So what's the deal with this FP6 LLM? It's
a technique called quantization.
Okay.
And it's basically a way of streamlining the mathematical calculations that are happening inside these LLMs.
So it's like giving the AI a faster processor or something like that?
You could think of it that way, yeah. It's basically making the underlying math more efficient.
So does that mean sacrificing accuracy for speed?
That's the amazing thing about this technique. No, it doesn't. It reduces the precision of the calculations, but without significantly impacting the quality of the output. It's like, if you're rounding numbers to the nearest 10th instead of the nearest 100th. Yeah. You lose a tiny bit of detail, but you still get the overall...
Yeah, the gist of it.
The gist of it, right? So you're trading a little bit of precision for a significant gain in speed.
Okay, so what does this mean like for the future of AI applications?
Well, it means that we can run these very large, complex AI models on devices that have less processing power. So it makes them more accessible, more efficient. Imagine, a smartphone app powered by an AI that can diagnose skin conditions in real time. That kind of speed and accessibility wouldn't be possible without techniques like FP6 LLM.
That's pretty wild. So we've got 4 approaches here, right? We've got Super, we've got MathGAP, we've got Rarebench, and we've got FP6 LLM. All of them kind of pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, in their own way.
In their own unique way.
Yeah.
But I guess like the big question is, I mean, what does this all mean for the future of AI, and how does this affect?
Well, I think what it really underscores is that AI is rapidly evolving from this theoretical concept to a a powerful tool with real world applications.
Yeah.
And as we develop more sophisticated ways to evaluate AI, we're also gaining a deeper understanding of its potential and its limitations.
Right.
And that's really the exciting part of this journey of discovery, is that it's constantly raising new questions.
Yeah.
It's pushing us to think about the role that AI will play in our lives in ways that we couldn't even have imagined.
Absolutely. Well, it's certainly a lot to think about.
Yep.
And I think you've given us a lot to chew on here today.
Glad to.
So thanks for taking us on this deep dive
You're very welcome.
into the world of AI evaluation. And till next time, folks, keep exploring.
Keep diving.
Keep diving.
Yeah.